And welcome back to the Rural Perspective. Today we're in Ashcroft and we're speaking with the Mayor of Ashcroft. Thank you once again for joining us on today's show, Mayor Roden.
Oh, it's great to be here.
All right, well, it's a brand new year, and that means new things for the Ashcroft Village. Let's have a little bit of an update on what's been going on our first few weeks into the new year in the Village of Ashcroft.
Oh, well, it's been pretty quiet. It generally is quiet over the Christmas period because people are away, they're taking time off. So in early January, that's when you really start to see things ramping up. So at the Village of Ashcroft, we've had our first council meeting of the new year, and we are looking forward to a strategic planning session in the near future to look at what are our priorities for the village. And that's based on things that we've heard from members of the public, things we've heard from public works and staff, and things that council bring to the table.
All right. Well, going straight into some of the public work discussions now. I know you probably saw some of those comments on Facebook because we love them so much. But maybe you could help clear up some questions for us regarding the taste of Ashcroft's water. There were some complaints over social media. I'm not sure if I'm sure you've heard about those complaints. Where are we with our water system? And what reports has the Director of Public Works given to inform the public on our water lines?
Well, the water lines, the water is checked several times a week. We have to do that, and we do. The confirmation that has consistently come back is that the water at the source is fine. There were no problems detected. Sometimes we might have to use slightly different levels of chlorine depending on what's happened at a given time. But I was in contact with Public Works and was assured that there was no change to the quality of the water in Ashcroft. Some people I know are very sensitive to odors, to tastes. I know of one household up here on the Mesa where one person in the household thought that there was an issue, and the other person said, "What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong. I
Mm-hmm.
don't." So
Yeah.
it can be, some people are simply more sensitive to, say, chlorine than others are. But I just want people to know that our water is consistently monitored and there are no health issues.
Okay, we just wanted to make sure that I know for me, and I'm down on the lower side of Ashcroft, and there was one day that I thought, oh, that tastes different. So
Mhm.
it's always good to know what's going on with our water systems. Are there any public reports, or is it just when people are tuning in to watch the council regarding the public works director's reports?
We don't put out reports about things like that
Okay,
because there was really nothing to report except that
clean.
there's nothing to report. Certainly, if we ever did have occasion to think that there was any kind of issue with the water, we would certainly let people know immediately, in the same way that when we need to restrict water usage because of one issue or another, we inform the public. We have the Voyant Alert system, which is very good for notifying people quickly and efficiently about any issues that come up. And if there was ever anything that came up relating to public works that people needed to know about, we would certainly get that out there by all means possible.
Absolutely. All right. Now, there was another report by the bylaw officer. He is the bylaw officer for Clinton, Cache Creek, and Ashcroft, correct?
Yes.
And how has having the new bylaw officer in these communities been helping Ashcroft?
We've always taken an approach with bylaw enforcement that it's about education. We do not have a bylaw officer, and Cache Creek and Clinton are exactly the same because I hear their council meetings as well. It is not a revenue generating tool. We are not out to punish people. We are not out to get people. What we want to do is just educate people about the bylaws that we do have and let people know that, hey, did you know we have a bylaw? Because in a lot of cases, people aren't aware. We've had a lot of new people move here over the last 2 or 3 years, and it's the education approach 90% of the time, it works absolutely fine. People say, I'm so sorry, I had no idea, won't happen again. And there we go, our work is done.
Well, how many complaints are needed before action is taken on any particular issue with bylaws?
Any complaint that comes in from a member of the public goes to the bylaw officer.
Oh,
So we
just, oh,
don't
okay.
we don't have an aggregate. It's not a case of, well, when we get our fifth complaint about X, then we'll act on it. No, we don't have
Okay.
a quota system. They're all dealt with individually, and complainants are anonymous. We do not go to the subject of the complaint and say, "Hey, Joe Brown has complained about you." It is anonymous.
Okay, great. And so people just contact the bylaw officer directly, or do they contact the Ashcroft Village?
They can contact the Ashcroft Village office. Anything that goes there that is bylaw related will be passed on to the bylaw control officer.
All right. So speaking of, the topic of conversation was dog fees, I believe, on the last council. Can you give us a little bit of an update on what was discussed with dog fees or dogs that have been impounded?
Um, there has been very little change to our fees schedule. The, uh, the cost of dog licenses, for example, hasn't changed. It's $10 for a spayed or neutered dog. I believe it's $30 for an unspayed or unneutered one. At the moment, we do not have an animal control officer. We used to have one in the past. We have not had one for 5 or 6 years now, I guess. So impounding dogs is not something that we would do at this time.
Okay. Is that something planned for the future? As a
We have
dog
not
owner,
had.
as a dog owner whose dog likes to run away, that would be good to know.
No, I mean that. I mean, people say dog tags. I was working downtown one day, and a dog was roaming the streets outside the Ashcroft Journal office, and it was running into traffic. And I was quite concerned about it, so I went and called it. A very friendly dog. It came trotting up. It
Mhm.
had a dog license, so I was able to call the village office and say, "Whose dog is this?" And I returned it to its owner. So when people say, "Oh, why do you need a dog license?" There's a perfect example.
Yeah.
I was able to find who owned the dog, return the dog home, and just say, hey, he was just wandering out in the street, could have been hit by a car, and they were very grateful to me for returning it.
All right, that sounds good. So, anything else that you'd like the community to know that the mayor and council are working on for the Ashcroft residents?
Well, it's budget season, always an interesting time of year. We have had a preliminary look at the 2023 budget, and there's lots more discussion to come. There will be public meetings about the budget. And people sometimes say, well, is this the time that if I have a project or something that I think the village should be addressing that's going to cost money, which is everything, then, when can I do that? And you can do that 365 days a year. You do not have to wait for budget season to bring forward something that has a budget that it's going to have a cost attached, because we make lists.
Mhm.
Literally, we make lists of things that come in from members of the public or from a counselor or from a staff member, and at budget time they all get discussed. So if you have a suggestion for something that you would like to see, then 365 days a year, we'd love to hear about it.
Why was there a proposed elimination of bulk water sales? Can you explain that a little bit to our viewers?
Uh, Water is increasingly being seen as the incredibly valuable natural resource that it is. Uh, I think for a long time, people sort of took it for granted. We've got the Thompson River right there flowing past. And people are coming to realize that we need to conserve our water, even in times when there isn't a drought, even when there isn't fire season. We need to be careful with this natural resource. And so council made the decision. It's not as if we were ever considering a bottling plant or anything. That was never ever the issue. We just wanted to make it clear in the bylaw that we do not do bulk water sales.
Okay. Um, and then going on to just do you know where we are with the trails plan coming up for spring and summer. Do we have any updates on that?
Staff are working on the final version of the Trails Master Plan based on input that we've had from members of the public, from council, and that final Trails Plan will be coming up sometime. I don't have a timeline, I have to say, but it will be coming up soon. And then once we have that adopted, we will be able to start moving forward, we hope, with some of the recommendations.
All right. And do we know if we had any of the surrounding Indigenous communities come forward with their input?
We have not had a chance to talk. We have a meeting coming up with Ashcroft Indian Band, but we have not had a chance to talk to them about the Trails Master Plan, although I do know from past discussions that they are very much in favor of some kind of trail or path that links the two communities. Not only would that be symbolic, it would be a physical link between the communities and a way of showcasing the beautiful natural area, also meaning people who wanted to get between the two communities on foot or by bike wouldn't have to go along Cornwall Road, which can be a little bit treacherous. There's some sharp bends in there. So, it's a safety issue. It's a natural benefit, and it's a nice community tie between Ashcroft Bend and the Village of Ashcroft.
That sounds awesome. And I think that's all I have for you for today. If no, I actually did have. I knew I had another question. I noticed in the last council meeting, council was able to take a phone call from a local resident. Is that ever something that's going to be available to residents to call in their questions if perhaps maybe there's some accessibility issues or problems in coming in?
We have done that in the past. We have had people phone in. I realize not everyone is adept at using a computer, or it's awkward, or maybe if they have a complex question or something that's a bit complicated. Certainly, we are able to take phone calls from people during that public input period. If that is the only way that they can communicate at that time, then we're happy to take a phone call.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us and updating on the wonderful things that are happening in the Village of Ashcroft.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.